Hello and welcome inside episode 15 of the Scully Scoop podcast. I'm your host, Adam Scully. Awesome to have 14 episodes in the books. Don't forget, subscribe to us on iTunes and watch and subscribe as well on YouTube. I continue to post both video and audio versions of this podcast. It's been a lot of fun so far, and it's also been a lot of fun to see some PGA Tour golf back in action. 2 tournaments in the books. Daniel Berger and Webb Simpson, the champions so far on the PGA Tour in the 2 tournaments since they have restarted. And that's where we're going this week with my guest, Brennan Little. He is the caddy for Gary Woodland, and he also caddied for Mike Weir when he won the Masters back in 2003. We talk all about that. We talk about Gary Woodland's great 2019 winning the U.S. Open and as well helping the U.S. win the President's Cup. Let's go to Brennan Little. And we're pleased to be joined by Brennan Little, who's currently caddying on the PGA Tour for Gary Woodland. And of course, he was on the bag as Mike Weir's caddy when he won the 2003 Masters. Brennan, welcome to the show.
Scully, thanks for having me.
It's been a while, my man. Hopefully you're doing well. We're just 2 weeks into the PGA Tour restart. What's it been like for you as a caddy? Have the weeks been different? If so, how different have they been?
Yeah, they have been a lot different, actually. They've been a lot easier as far as logistically getting around, traffic in towns, parking. The hospitality for us has been great because they haven't had any hospitality in the clubhouse, so we've had great location. Like I say, the parking's been good. I'm in Hartford this week. We were in Dallas a couple weeks ago, even Hilton Head last week. It's nice to be able to get to the golf course in 5 or 10 minutes when normally it's 30.
Yeah.
And it's also a lot easier time-wise. It's been great because when you don't have fans, they don't sign autographs. It's easier to get to the range. Practice rounds go faster. So unfortunately, we don't have the fans, which makes it a little more exciting. But the good part is that time-wise, it's a lot easier for us.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Now, unfortunately, there have been some positive tests for COVID-19. Now, I'm assuming you have obviously been tested. Players have posted videos online of just how uncomfortable they look. Are the testing as weird as it appears to the viewer like myself watching it?
Yeah, it's the first one's always weird because they put it so far up your nose and then they kind of turn it. The second and third ones were kind of okay because it's only like up there for 2 or 3 seconds. And then this week, normally what happens is when you get to the tournament, you get on Monday, they have a mobile testing unit at the facility. So you have to test and then you have to kind of wait about 90 minutes until you get your results. And this week, Gary and I, we ended up driving in, got the test, and they kept it up there for 10 seconds. And you kind of tip your head back and you just kind of hold your breath and you're like, okay, go. And I was like, okay, enough. And she was like, well, this lab wants 10 seconds. And I was like, holy smoke. So the 3 seconds isn't too bad, but you kind of get used to it after a while. But it's not something I'd really, want to have done just for fun.
No, definitely not. It looks so uncomfortable to see. Now, one of the hot topics so far is miking up players. Would you be okay, or what would your status be if someone asked you and Gary to be mic'd up?
I don't think he would do it, to be honest with you. I think, first of all, if you do it, you're basically miking the whole group.
Right.
So to ask one person to do it, if you're sitting there talking to guys walking down the fairway, everyone in the whole group is being put on the mic. So I don't think it's really fair to ask one guy. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as me watching TV and being a viewer, I think it's great because I think you get a little bit of insight. You can hear what players and caddies are talking about. You can hear see what players are thinking, what kind of shots. So I do think it's good. I just don't think it's fair unless the entire group agrees to it.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. There have been some interesting moments so far on the PGA Tour. One of the first shots shown on Golf Channel, you could hear a Brooks Koepka F-bomb because there are no fans around. But funny stuff like that's going to happen on the PGA Tour in the next couple of weeks, I'm sure. Now, you and Gary, you've had a solid start in the restart. 9th place finish at the Charles Schwab Challenge and made the cut last week at Harbour Town. How would you assess how the first 2 weeks have gone?
I thought the first week he played really well. His short game's actually been pretty good, and his putting's been really well. He just actually moved into the top 50 in putting, which for him is really good. He hasn't hit the ball as well as he could have. Last week, he had a couple foul balls, a couple OBs, and so normally his ball striking is his strength. So if he can keep his short game and his putting up, he'll be fine. Last week obviously wasn't very good, but it's going to be a pretty jam-packed schedule here. So you need to play well here in the next little bit. There's just not a lot of time until the Tour Championship.
Yeah, that's for sure. There's definitely not a lot of time at all. Now, how much were you and Gary in touch during the quarantine period?
We were in touch quite a bit. I went down there. No, I'm sorry. I did not go down. I went to Kansas. I drove up to Kansas, living in Dallas the week before we played, and just played golf for 2 or 3 days with him. But I talked to him a little bit. He sent me some videos and some stuff he was working on, mainly putting downstairs at his house, taking some swings. I mean, he was in Florida for a month and a half and really couldn't play any golf because they were closed. So he ended up going to Kansas, which was open. One of the ranges was kind of open. He hit some balls, but I think really it's the first time a lot of these guys have taken 2 months off of golf because they just couldn't play. So I think in the long run, I think it's good for all of them because they can kind of reassess things. And I think for Gary, it was good. I think he really got to work on his putting and not have to play golf. And he obviously lost a lot of weight. So I think it was really good in the long run, but he's just, you got to get back into the play mode now.
In conversation here with PGA Tour caddy Brennan Little, who's on the bag for Gary Woodland. You mentioned it right there, the weight loss. I was just going to ask you about that. Were you aware of how much weight he had lost? And I'm sure he looks great up close. He's lost, 20 or 25 pounds?
Yeah, he lost about 25. He's got to put a little bit of weight back on. He's not, his club speed's not quite what he wants it to be. But, it's easy when you're at home and you're working out, and his wife's there cooking him some healthy meals, not traveling. So he kind of, when he does stuff, he kind of goes all out. So he went from really working out a lot to eating really clean to very few desserts and drinks. So it was a pretty big change for him, but I think he realizes that it's not going to be that way once you get on the road and you get done late one night and you have to eat and then get to bed, and you can't work out one day because you're tired. So he'll be fine, but he did lose a lot of weight. He was pretty strict with everything he was doing.
Okay, so Woodland lost 25 pounds. Bryson DeChambeau looks like the incredible bulk out there. He gained about 20 pounds. How about you during quarantine? Did you manage to avoid the quote-unquote quarantine 15?
Yeah, I did. You know what? Unfortunately, I'm about the same weight, whether it's a little more muscle when I'm working out or a little more fat when I'm not. But I'm between 190 and 200, and I've been that way for 20 years. So if I get over 200 or I get close to that 200 mark, I gear it back down a little bit.
Right.
And then if sometime in the summer when we're going and it's hard, you're outside and you're sweating all the time and I get close to 190, then I make a few extra trips to Dairy Queen.
That's the way to do it. Before we get into the great year that you and Gary had in 2019, I'd love to hear about a week in the life of a PGA Tour caddy on a Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, specifically before a tournament. Just how much preparation is there for you, and how much work are you putting into the yardage books on a weekly basis?
Well, okay, there's two different things. If you're at a course, if we're going to a tournament where I've been a lot of times, you're not putting as much in because the golf course. The yardage books now are just so good. You have your regular yardage book, and then you have your greens book, which is just the green contours, and it has arrows where the putts are going. With ShotLink now, we know the exact hole locations in the greens book. So the major weeks are a lot longer and a lot more difficult than your regular weeks. But the green books and the yardage books are really, really good now. So the old days of going and shooting sprinkler heads and getting runouts and a lot of the stuff that took time, you don't have to do anymore. GPS is taking care of all that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, whenever I play golf and I forget my Bushnell, I'm like a deer in the headlights. I have no idea how far anything is. So you guys do such a great job on tour. It's such a challenging job to do. So kudos for that. Now, I mentioned the great year you guys had together in 2019. But during the PGA Championship in 2018, you guys had a great chance to win that major and were paired with Tiger on the final round on the Sunday. It was mayhem. It was chaos, huge crowds. How much do you think you guys learned as a duo in 2018 that helped you propel to the great year that was 2019?
Well, I think, yeah, I think I think for him it really meant a lot. I think he'd kind of elevated his game. He'd won a couple times on the PGA Tour. He hadn't had a lot of success in the majors, and he had really played well that week. And he actually played well on Sunday. He hit just a couple loose shots, and I think for him when he got done, and we talked about it, that I think deep in his mind he's like, you know what, I can do this. I was close, and normally it takes guys a couple of times. You got to get your feet wet. And I think playing with Tiger really helps because he and Tiger are good friends. And, he had a couple of decent majors and started gaining confidence. And then he really started playing well once he tuned up his putting in the summer of 18. And it's come down from there.
Yeah, hasn't ever. So let's go to 2019 U.S. Open, Pebble Beach. Does it get any better than that? How special was it to help Gary win his first major, but for you, your second career major?
Yeah, no, it was incredible. The first time in 2003 with Weir, I'd only been caddying for 3 or 4 years, and he, obviously had a lot of success that year. We were both young. This was, 17 years difference or 16 years apart, totally different times, totally different time in my life, and you're totally different golfer. And Gary just had really been improving, and it's nice to see hard work pay off, when both of us are out there. More so for him, me seeing him and his hard work and his dedication. And then to do it at Pebble Beach and the U.S. Open, I mean, it was incredible. And like I told him that week, he was in a zone that week like I'd never seen mentally. He was just even keeled. Nothing seemed to bother him. We had gone in on Sunday, played a practice round. He got a lot of work done. His coaches were there. He felt really comfortable all week. And I told him Saturday after the round, I said, I don't care what happens tomorrow. If you keep this attitude, I said, this is something I've really never seen. So just keep playing. And sure enough, he, I hope he can get in that zone a little more often. But yeah, it was incredible. It's 2 great places to win.
Yeah, it was special to watch from afar on TV. I have to ask you about 2 shots in particular from that final round. The second shot into 14, the par 5. I remember watching an interview that Weeksy actually did with Woodland shortly after the victory, and Woodland said that you had talked him into going for the green. He originally wanted a layup. It obviously worked. You guys made birdie. Tell us about that back and forth on the 14th fairway.
Well, if you know the 14th hole at Pebble Beach, it's hard to tell on TV, but the second shot is straight uphill.
Right.
Okay. And the green is a small green, and where that pin is, if anything, you got to hit it past the pin if you lay it up. Now that wedge shot is a really, really tough wedge shot. I mean, working for Weir forever, even he didn't like that wedge. That's a hard wedge shot because it's about 10 yards uphill, and you can't see much. You got the face of the bunker up there. So if we were going to lay it up into a decent wedge number, he was going to have to hit like a 7-iron, and then normally it's a hard wedge. You'd probably hit it 15 feet behind the hole and maybe make birdie, maybe make par. But I thought it was a pretty good number. In worst case, you can bomb 3-wood up there. If it goes in the grandstand, if it goes long, you can always chip it down and make 5. Mm-hmm. And I also thought it was a pretty good number as far as hitting 3-wood. Now, he pulled it off and it hit just over the bunker and ended up absolutely perfect. But I don't think I never even thought about laying it up. Looking back when I was surprised because normally he calls me a conservative caddy. So I'm usually the one that tries to play the smart shot into a wedge, but I just think that wedge isn't a very good a percentage shot. So, and we had a pretty good number for 3-wood. So it was 3-wood all day, I thought.
Yeah, it certainly paid off. Okay. Then of course, I'm sure you've been asked this before, 17th hole, Gary hits his shot to the right side of the green on the green. The pin is far left. Elects to chip it from off the green and nearly holes the darn thing. On a scale of 1 to 10, just how difficult was that shot?
Oh, it had to be 9 or 10
Yeah.
at that time. I would say if he was to go do it in a practice round, it would be like a 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
He had also done that on Thursday or Friday, whatever, one of the first 2 days in that tournament when the pin was back right, not back left. He missed it right and had to chip it as well. So he had done it earlier, but he used to practice that a lot. Now, under the situation with a 1-stroke lead, a 2-stroke lead at the time, I mean, it was an incredible shot. And then to hit it as close as he did, too. It's not like he hit it 6 feet or 8 feet and made it. I mean, to hit it really within gimme length was, that's probably, I'll guarantee you that's one of the best shots he's ever hit. And maybe when, he's done golfing.
Yeah, talk about clutch. Then he holds the birdie on 18 to seal his first major championship. Okay, on a personal level, I'm actually heading to Pebble Beach on a father-son trip next March. I've had it in the works for quite some time and actually surprised my dad with the news on Father's Day. We both have it been. What can we expect from one of the world's most famous courses?
I think it is all going to depend on, well, I don't think, I know. It will all depend on the weather.
Mm-hmm.
If you get there and it's 75 or 80 degrees and no wind, you're going to say, wow, this course is pretty easy. You get out there and it's blowing 30 and it's not very nice, you're going to say, wow, this is incredibly difficult. So they are, I know from last week talking about Harbor Town, Pebble Beach has the smallest greens on tour, and keep it below the hole. I'll tell you that if you can always play from the front of the green. And, normally the greens are so soft, you just got to watch the spin. But it's an incredible place. And if you get a beautiful day there, there's no better place to play golf.
Well, I definitely know when I go next March, I'm going to replay that answer right before I go out and play and hopefully go out and play a decent round. We're in conversation here with Brennan Little, the caddy for Gary Woodland on the PGA Tour. Another great event for you guys last year was the President's Cup at Royal Melbourne, and obviously a very different course than the majority of places here in North America. What was it like for you guys to learn a course like that?
I'll tell you what, it was incredible. That golf course actually took a lot. That was one of the harder golf courses to learn, I think. It didn't help us getting there so late and not really having practice rounds. I think home course advantage there, that's probably one of the greatest advantages you can have in golf, because it's an unbelievable golf course. It really took the U.S. team a while to, talk to everyone and get a feel of where to play it, because it's amazing some of the shots you could hit. I mean, there was just so many different clubs you could play. Really, really one of the better golf courses I've been around. I mean, it wasn't the prettiest, but as far as playing golf and the shots you had to hit, it was amazing.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I obviously haven't been there. I have played Pinehurst number 2. That's the closest comparable I can come up with in North America. Am I somewhere on the right wavelength there?
Yeah, you are. I wasn't at Pinehurst last time with all the new changes. So, but yeah, it's very similar. I mean, it's kind of a sandy base. You can run shots or you can hit drivers and cut off a lot of corners. Greens, sloping everywhere. You got to miss it. It's a little like kind of Augusta. You got to miss it in the right spot, because the greens are so good and so fast that if you miss it in the wrong spot, you can't make pars. So you have to really be smart when you play those courses.
Yeah, 100%. Now, after the U.S. came back to win, at least on TV anyway, it might have been the happiest we've ever seen Tiger Woods look. Now, whether it's been with Woodland or Mike Weir, you've been in the heat of the battle with Woods many times before. What was it like to see Tiger in the team room as a captain?
It was awesome. He really did a great job all week. For us especially, it was great because they had a couple of sit-down dinners, but we didn't have any sit-down dinners. It was just go in, everybody hung out, grab your food, and go back to the room and do what you want to do. So he had it completely organized, gave everybody a little pep talk here and there. And I think more than anything, he just told guys, go play golf. And, there was a little bit of a pep talk, but it was, guys, we got 12 of the best guys in the world here. Let's go get it done. And, Tiger went out and did it himself the way he played. Kind of took the lead, which was fun.
Yeah, watching him that week, we haven't seen him on form like that in quite some time. It was fun to watch. Okay, a couple more before we let you go. We're in conversation here with Brennan Little, who's caddying on the PGA Tour for Gary Woodland. And of course, Brennan, you were also the caddy for Mike Weir when he won the 2003 Masters. Take us back to that week. What clicked for you guys?
Well, obviously, that was a week that it was really wet that week, and I believe that it really worked into Weir's favor because a lot more guys had to lay up, and obviously having a great short game and a great wedge game, it kind of laid into his favor where he was laying up on the par fives, and at the end of the day, he just played great golf. I mean, it's a really, really good golf course around the greens for him, and especially back then because he's got great imagination, he's got great hands, and he's a good wedge player and a good putter. So, he can really use his imagination around the greens there. Now, the course obviously now has gotten to be more of a bomber's paradise because they've gotten rough and they've backed the tees up. But you still have to have a good short game there. I don't care how well you hit it. And that was the week where Rizzy just had the putter working. We had everything working really, but the putter and the wedge were incredible. If you think of all the great Canadian golfers we have, and, obviously being a hockey country, but to win a major is a huge deal, and no one had done it. To be the first one to do it is incredible. So I'm glad that he did get the recognition, and I'm really glad that it helped a lot of the younger kids come up because we really do need, or we should have a lot more tournament winners from Canada. There's no reason our country doesn't produce golfers. And I think that was really the start of it. And I think now you're seeing it on the PGA Tour with so many good Canadians and so many guys starting to win. So I'm really glad that obviously that he did it, and I was there with him. But I think it's great for golf in Canada as well.
Yeah, he's paved the way for so many young Canadians now currently on the PGA Tour. Now, I understand that you celebrated that victory, let's say in a unique way, in the dark, perhaps on the first hole at Augusta National. Tell us that story.
Well, that back then in the old days, our caddy parking was behind one green, and Mike was doing media, and Mike's agent at the time, there was a couple of guys, and they said, Mike's going to go do the media. And he had a rental house in town, and they said, yeah, once the meeting's over, we'll go meet you back there. So I was with a buddy of mine, and we had to go get our cars because the guy said, hey, they're locking the gate, and we were going to fly out in the morning. So I took Weir's clubs, and he carried, and my buddy Mark Cheney at the time, it was caddies for Freddie now. I don't know who he was caddying for then, but he took the clubs, and I played number one left-handed. So I kind of dropped it at the bottom of the hill, whacked it up there, made 4 to the car, and went back to the house. So it was a nice par from about 300 yards.
All in a day's work. You help him win a green jacket, and you make a par yourself. Okay, Brad, last one here. Yeah, left-handed, too, of all things. At Augusta National, right. One of the hardest places in the world. All right, Brennan, we've taken a lot of your time, but I love asking people this question about bucket list courses. Is there one course that you haven't yet had the chance to caddy at that you'd love to get to before your career's over?
Honestly, I don't think there is. I've been very fortunate that I've been to most courses, all the big ones, obviously the majors, the British Opens. I've been to China. I don't think there's a course that I've really ever thought that, hey, I just have to get there, whether it's caddying or playing. I think I'm really, really spoiled in the fact that every week we go to a golf tournament, the course is in immaculate shape. And, I've been to so many. But at the same time, I'm not one of these guys that dies to play every golf course or has a bucket list of golf courses. My bucket list is more in hockey or, going to a World Series or something like that. So as long as the Blue Jays would get me to a World Series, I'll be happy.
Well, I think definitely a part 2 of this podcast, whenever we have you on next, we'll have to talk some hockey, we'll talk some Blue Jays, and we'll talk about some other sports for sure. Brennan, thanks so much for your time today.
Anytime.
We really appreciate it. Send our best to Gary, and good luck this week.
Okay, Skulls, we'll do. Thanks, buddy.
Have you seen anything like that?
Thanks again to Brennan Little for joining me here on the Scully Scoop podcast. Some awesome stories from helping Mike Weir win the 2003 Masters and making Canadian history, to caddying for Gary Woodland in 2019, helping him win the U.S. Open. 2 major championships on the resume of Brennan Little. Really appreciate him taking the time to do this interview. Well, this has been another fun episode of the Scully Scoop podcast. 15 episodes now in the books. Don't forget, subscribe to us on iTunes and on YouTube. We're also available on SoundCloud. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Scully Scoop podcast, and we'll see you next time.